What is a sacred place? Throughout Jewish history, this question has had different answers. Our ancestors in the Torah would set a stone, a matzeva, to mark any place where an encounter with God had occurred as sacred. God told Moses that the place where the bush was burning was sacred ground. Yet, these places, once marked, were left alone, and they did not become destinations where people would go to worship. Then, the freed Israelites built the Mishkan, a dwelling place for God. In the form of a cloud, God would descend to the Israelites' encampment and remain with them. The place where the Ark of the Covenant rested with the cloud above it was sacred, because there people would encounter God through ritual. And there, as we just read in today's parashah, Emor, Aharon and his sons would light the Ner Tamid, a perpetual life fed by the oil produced by the Israelites. And they would bring bread to offer to God and eat together. Later, after conquering the land, Solomon built the temple, as we read this morning in our Haftarah portion. The temple became God's dwelling place, a central sanctuary for worship, making a radical transformation in Judaism. Now, there was a fixed place on earth for Jews to worship God. There, Solomon installed the lamps in pure gold for the Ner Tamid and the tables for the bread, as prescribed in Emor. Yet, Solomon recognized the paradox inherent in this, declaring some verses later, "Does God really dwell with the mortals on earth? Even the heavens, to their uttermost reaches, cannot contain you. How much less this house I have built?" God contains all places. Indeed, one of the names of God is Hamakom, the place. God is the ultimate sacred place. But when the temple was destroyed and the biblical Israelites were scattered, a new era of reinventing Judaism arrived, a time when God would be encountered in the Beit Knesset and the Beit Midrash, the house of gathering and the house of study. This remains our reality today, when the question has been more pressing. What transforms merely any space into a sacred space? There is one thread, one small everyday task that illuminates our question: the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, which was to be kindled morning and evening by Aharon and his descendants before the curtains of the tent. Every day, morning and night, as I have just read in our Sidra. An additional hint is in the bread that Aharon was to bring to the tent and display upon the altar every Shabbat. The requirement that these lamps be lit twice a day presents a challenge. We are no longer lighting the ancient biblical Ner Tamid, so we must imagine the mechanical responsibility. Doing something every day requires discipline and dedication. Yet, it is precisely this unique commitment every day that sustains the flame throughout time, helping us make each day and each night sacred. And when Shabbat arrives, we mark time in a special way, with bread shared amongst family. Rabbi Sylvia Rothschild teaches that the Ner Tamid is a reminder of God's continuing presence in our world, a small beacon of hope that stays with us as the pillar of fire that guided us through the desert. However, It is the continuous act of lighting the flame that creates sacred time, bringing God into the world of space. Time becomes a sacred space, as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel establishes in his book, The Shabbat. He teaches that all it takes to sanctify God is time, a soul, and a moment. And the three are always there. Our Sidra teaches us that we must sanctify time and bring God into our lives every day, morning and light, by lighting the Ner Tamid. And when Shabbat comes, we bring bread to the table and create a sacred space. The altar becomes our table, and the meal we share is sanctified by a divine encounter. It is not the place that is sacred, but the time and the encounter that we create within that place. It is by creating places where we come to engage with God in study and worship, in sacred time, and around our family tables. God gave us Torah in the desert so that we wouldn't become attached to one fixed place when practicing God's teachings, as Rabbi Kalonimus Shapira, the Warsaw Ghetto rabbi, teaches. Instead, God gave us a moving cloud to accompany us everywhere and a flame to light each day, bringing sacredness to our time. Today, we are not lighting the biblical Ner Tamid, day and night, but we must be conscious of how we must adapt Judaism to the new spaces where we live, to bring sacredness to our lives and renew it. It is not one flame of the ancient Israelites' worship that shines forever, but the many flames that each of us lights when we open our lives to making each day sacred. We must embrace change. We must sanctify the new and renew the old, in Rav Kook's words. So, what makes a place sacred? It is our conscious, renewed engagement with God in time that is the key. It is the flame we kindle in a place that makes it sacred. It is the discipline of creating something special each day to bring God into our lives. It is the bread we share once each week in a very particular way that connects us to one another. And it is in that space between people where we create sacred encounters and sacred time that God manifests. Shabbat Shalom.